Yo, what's going on? Today we're revisiting one of my favorite games, The Long Dark, and we're going to be ranking the different regions. The criteria and standard for this list is going to be based off life enjoyability and where I would rather just set up camp and live in. So food supplies, weather, base options, and wildlife would all be contributing factors to this list. If you're new here, welcome. If not, welcome back. Please leave a like and consider subscribing. All right, let's get into it. Coming in as the least desirable place to live in the entire game is the Hush River Valley. This place sucks. It's all caves with no man-made bases in the entire region. That means there's not a lot of supplies to loot here. And the weather can be really harsh with winter blizzards at night. There's a lot of wildlife here, some aggressive and some not. You get bears and wolf spawns. There's also deer and rabbit coves all around the map. You can also find some cattail in the area. Next up, we have Ash Canyon. This is one of the hardest regions to survive in. The region is filled with steep terrain, wilderness, and harsh weather. There are only a few man-made shelters in the region. Angler's Den is probably my favorite. It includes a stove, workbench, bed, and storage. Next, we have Foreman's Retreat, coupled with Miner's Folly. This location offers a lot of the same thing as Angler's Den, including bed, stove, and workbench. There's usually a bear nearby, which you can hunt for food, and a few deer which usually spawn in the area as well. They can help you stave off hunger for a while. Coming in at number 10, we have Furlo Musket. No man-made shelters here at all. It's not a great long-term option, and it's one of the smaller regions in the entire game. You will usually run into a bear after spending any significant amount of time here. Wolves usually roam the area as well, and there's plentiful cattail in the area, so you have a decent food source. The only real base option you have here is the Spence Family Homestead. It essentially acts like a warm cave. Here you can find a workbench, storage space, a forge with coal lying around, and a bed. Next up, we have Timberwolf Mountain. I'm not a big fan of this place here. The weather is really rough, with this region being one of the coldest, and blizzards occur almost every other day here. These conditions make it really hard to travel around without the highest quality clothing. Rope climbing is required to reach several key locations here. The Mountaineer's Hut is really the only man-made shelter in the region. There is a fishing hut right outside on Crystal Lake that you can use as a main food source. At number 8, we have Bleak Inlet. This definitely ain't one of my favorite regions either. It's a cold and windy region that can be very dangerous. This is one of 2 regions in the game where you can be chased and hunted by Timberwolf packs. It's definitely dangerous here to travel too far without weapons or flares. The cannery is the main attraction of the region. It's where you will find most of the supplies here and where you will spend most of your time. On the base of the cannery, you will find trailers, vehicles, and other places to loot. After you find out how to open and get in the workshop, you now have access to one of only 2 ammunition workbenches in the entire game. At number 7, we have Desolation Point. This is one of the smaller regions in the game, but there is an abundance of aggressive wildlife here. You can't really go too far without running into a couple of wolves or a bear. There aren't many food sources here, with only a couple of deer spawns and not a lot of cattail in the region. The best food source here for long-term sustainability will be making and using a fishing hole near your base. There are a couple of key locations in the region. You have the Lonely Lighthouse, which has a bed, a stove, and plenty of storage. You also have the Riken, which is a large ship that got shipwrecked on the beach. The ship features a forge, which is one of only 4 located in the entire game. The last major location here is a Hibernia processing. This is the best base location in the region. There are a couple trailers located in the yard. These are great locations to loot and places where you can get away from the bear if you need to run away. The processing building itself has 2 storages and a couple of different rooms for you to explore. Inside here, you're gonna find a bed, workbench, lockers, and a safe. Coming in at the number 6 spot, we have Mountain Town. There are lots of shelters here, man. There's lots of supplies. It'll take you over 10 days just to loot all of the man-made shelters. There are many different base options here that you can use. It really just depends on what area of the region do you want to use as your home base. The best options are the Paradise Meadows Farm, the Milton House, which is where Mother Gray lives, or the Orca gas station. Each one of these locations have a bed, a fireplace, and plenty of storage location. Paradise Meadows Farm also has a workbench. There's also plenty of wildlife here. There are rabbit holes all over the map. You will run into deer and wolves, and occasionally you might run into a bear as well. At number 5, we have Broken Railroad. This is another small region, and is also the westernmost region on the entire map. There's mild weather here, but many predators. The main location here is the maintenance yard. It's the only real base option in the region. This place is extremely versatile, which makes it a good choice for long-term living. Inside you have a bed, a bathroom, a forge, workbench, trunk, toolbox, and many other places to loot. There's an office space attached to the maintenance shed that could definitely come in handy. It's technically considered outside, and it doesn't have a closed-off entrance. Hanging out here will prevent cabin fever. There is cattail located around the lake out back. There's also a hunter blind located north of the lake. Sometimes there will be a course located here, and there's a cave located north of the blind. Coming in at number 4, we have Black Rock. This is one of my favorite regions, but you definitely need to be prepared for wolf packs to live here long term. You got a lot of predators that you got to deal with. You got wolves, bear, moose, and timberwolves, which hunt in packs and are bigger and more aggressive than regular wolves. There are a couple different key locations in the region, but the main one is Black Rock Prison. You also have Cook's Farm, which is an old farm with a workbench, a fire barrel, and fuel to get a fire started. A lot of times you might find a tool here, like a knife or a hatchet. Black Rock is also the only place where you'll find noisemakers, which are essentially pipe bombs that you can use to keep the wolf packs away. And you also have a ballistic vest here, which provides massive protection against animal attacks, but is very heavy to carry. On the prison grounds, you have a workbench, plenty of beds, plenty of spaces to loot, vehicles, and plenty of storage spaces. Once you unlock the door to a certain room, you also have access to an ammunition workbench, a forge, a milling machine, so that you can make ammunition and take care of the condition of your weapons and tools. At number 3, we have Mystery Lake. There's a lot of shelter here with a couple really good options. Many different places to loot, with multiple places having a workbench. The food options here are plentiful, with many different fishing spots and cattail all around the area. There are wolves and a bear spawn here, but they aren't as common here as in other regions. This is also one of the warmer regions as well. There are 3 main base locations that you can use here, and these are the main 3 that I would recommend, and each location has a workbench. You have the Hydro Carter Dam, which is probably the largest base option in the game. You have the Camp Office, which has a nice location, is close to fishing huts, and right off the main railroad. And the third option is Trapper's Homestead, which features a bed, a stove, and lots of storage space. At the number 2 spot, you have Pleasant Valley. Pleasant Valley is a lot of fun to explore. You have so many different man-made shelters for you to loot and potentially use as a home base. This is one of the more central regions on the map. The weather here is really harsh, with blizzards occurring here more than in any other region. There's also a lot of wildlife in the area, with a bear, moose, wolves, and deer being all around. You have a couple different base options with some really good ones too. You have the Paradise Valley Farmstead and a community hall. The community hall has a fireplace and a stove, a couple beds, storage, and items to loot. Cattail can be found close as a good food source. The community hall is in an area called Thompson Crossing. Thompson Crossing is a small community with different churches, homes, and a convenience store. The store has a decent supply of food and drinks. Paradise Valley Farmstead is definitely one of my favorite bases in the entire game. It has everything you need for long-term living. It has a main floor, an upper level, and a basement. It has a workbench, fireplace, food, and storage. It's the only base in the game with a screened-in porch. This can be so clutch. You can stand on the porch and hunt the bear that be in the area, or you can even hunt wolves from the porch. We have finally made it to the end of the list, and coming in as my favorite region to live in the long dark is Coastal Highway. This place has everything you need. Great base options, good food sources, and great areas for you to loot. The weather here is relatively mild, but you can get some bad blizzards. There are fishing huts all over the map, so food is plentiful. There are 2 islands off the shore that you can explore, and you can potentially live here if you like. Both of the islands have a decent base option on them. One of the islands is called Jackrabbit Island, and the name is pretty fitting, with numerous rabbits calling the island home. There's a small group of homes labeled fishing camps. This is also a decent base option. One spot doesn't have a lot of storage, but you can separate your items across the different homes here. It's centrally located in the region and is close to other useful items. There's a fishing hut really close, and it's not far from the coast, so you can do some beach combing if you like to. There's also a workbench here for you to use. The other option that I really like as a base is the Quonset Garage. This is another one of my favorite bases in the entire game. There's enough supplies and food in the area to keep you living for at least a week. It's also fairly close to fishing huts if your food supply does run low. This is one of the better bases that you can find in the entire game when it comes to long-term sustainability. There are a lot of wolves roaming around the area, and you can get a bear spawn here, so make sure you always keep your head on the swivel. If you made it this far, thank you. Leave a like and subscribe. I got a lot more content coming soon. Let me know in the comments what you rank the different regions or what game you'd like to see me cover next. Until next time, we're out. Peace.